Alright, so today we're diving into a really chilling story that came to us from a subscriber named Pranav. His family, living in a small village in West Bengal, went through this 3-year nightmare that was so intense, he says it taught them a life lesson they'll never forget. So, let's get into what actually happened.
This is how Pranav started his message. Can you imagine? He had to literally convince his family elders to even let him share the story. I mean, that one sentence tells you everything you need to know about how serious this was. This wasn't some spooky campfire story. This was a real trauma that left a family completely silent for decades.
And this whole thing didn't just happen overnight. No, it was this slow, creeping dread that built up over 3 long years. It all kicked off with one single stubborn decision back in 1995. That led to a year of terrifying warnings in 96, and then finally, everything came to a head in 1997 with an unbelievable tragedy and a desperate solution.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The story really begins with Pranav's uncle, a man they call Deep. After a pretty big family argument, he basically decides, that's it, I'm done. He wants out. So he decides he's going to build a brand new house for his own wife and kids, and he picks this plot of land that's kind of out there on its own, right in the middle of his paddy fields. Now, this is maybe the most important part of the whole story. You have to understand Deep's personality. He wasn't just a little skeptical, he was a staunch, capital N, non-believer. Ghosts, spirits, even God. He thought it was all nonsense. If he couldn't see it or touch it, it just wasn't real. And that disbelief, well, it ends up being his fatal flaw.
Okay, so look at this layout, because the geography here is everything. The house is basically surrounded by water. You've got an old pond on the west side and a brand new one to the northeast. But here are the 2 details you need to lock in your brain. That super narrow little path on the west side and the main gate, which faced south, looking almost directly at a crematorium, just 800 meters away. Every single one of these things is about to become a huge problem.
So, as is custom, Deep's wife insisted they call in a local priest for the groundbreaking ceremony, to bless the land. But this wasn't just some routine prayer. The second that priest set foot on the property, he knew something was very, very wrong with where they were building.
And this is where it all goes off the rails. You have this head-on collision between ancient belief and modern skepticism. The priest gives this really cryptic but urgent warning. He says that narrow space on the west, it's someone's passage. He tells them you have to move the house. But Deep, he just hears a scam. In his mind, this priest is just trying to squeeze more money out of him for extra rituals. So he dismisses the warning for a very simple, modern reason. It was going to cost too much money to fix.
So Deep just blows off the priest and plows ahead with building the house. And almost immediately, the land itself starts to fight back. The warnings aren't just words anymore. Now, they're becoming physical. And the signs just got weirder and weirder. First, that new wall on the west side, it would crack and crumble every single night. Then, they left some bundles of rice paddy leaning against that same wall, and the next morning they were just smoldering ash, no sign of a fire. Soon after that, the whole family started noticing this intense, unnatural cold coming from that side of the house, and then they started hearing footsteps at night. And finally, Deep himself saw her, an old woman completely drenched in a wet sari, reeking of fish, just walking down that narrow path in the middle of the night. Deep, of course, tried to rationalize it all away, but the warnings have been given and they've been ignored. And this is the part of the story where things go from just being unsettling to being an absolute catastrophe. The entity stops leaving signs and starts taking direct, deadly action. It was just a normal afternoon. Deep's young son, who was only in the 6th grade, went for his daily bath in the family pond. He never came back. A little while later, they found his body on the bank. The warnings had been ignored, and now a price, a horrific price, had been paid. Now here's a cultural detail that is just devastatingly important. In their tradition, during the 13-day mourning period, the family is required to remove all religious and spiritual protections from their bodies. This even included a blessed thread that a tantric had given them for safety. So at the exact moment they were at their most broken and vulnerable, they were forced to lower their shields. And with their spiritual defenses completely down, the entity didn't just knock on the door anymore. It came inside. Deep's daughter became possessed. Her body would twist into these impossible shapes, her head touching the floor while she stared at the main gate. She would scream, "I'll take her with me." They found her in a storage room, just chewing on raw, uncooked fish. One morning she disappeared entirely, and they found her hours later just lying in that distant crematorium.
It just got worse and worse, until she finally attacked her own mother, trying to throw her into a live cooking fire.
The family was absolutely at the end of their rope. After months of pure terror, they finally heard about this very old, very powerful exorcist, a woman known as the Duri Mata. She was their last hope. And the moment she met them, she knew exactly what was tormenting them.
And she looked deep straight in the eye and just laid it all out. She told him, because of your one mistake, that arrogant dismissal of the priest, your family has been destroyed. She didn't pull any punches. But then she told him, since you've come to me, it's my duty now to free you from this nightmare you've created.
And this is the aha moment. She finally gives the thing a name. It wasn't a ghost in the typical sense. She explained it was a joki, a type of water spirit from the local lore. And these creatures, they have one single obsessive purpose: to travel along a very specific ancient path between their home, a body of water, and a cremation ground. And just like that, everything clicks into place. All the bizarre, terrifying things that happened suddenly made perfect, horrible sense. The collapsing wall, that was the joki trying to literally push the house out of its way. The wet fish-smelling woman, that was it showing itself. The tragic drowning of the son, that was the spirit attacking the family in its own territory, the pond. And the daughter's possession, the joki was just using her body as a vehicle to try and finish its journey to the crematorium. Deep hadn't just built a house, he'd built a roadblock on a supernatural highway.
So how do you fix a problem like that? Well, the Duri Mata went back to ancient, powerful magic. She performed a ritual using rooster's blood to consecrate 4 huge iron nails. Then, she drove them deep into the ground at the 4 corners of the property, creating a permanent spiritual barrier. This wasn't about fighting the spirit. It was about severing its path for good, sealing it off, and finally, after 3 years, setting this family free.
After it was all over, Deep, the staunch non-believer, purportedly became a devoutly religious man for the rest of his life. His family survived, but they were scarred forever. Their story really is a chilling, cautionary tale, and it leaves you with this one heavy question. What's the true price we pay when we become so modern, so arrogant, that we completely dismiss the wisdom of the past?